What's up and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. I'm your host, Mason Kenahan, and today I am coming to you right after it was just announced by Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport that the Washington Commanders are making a blockbuster trade, trading for Houston Texans starting left tackle Laremy Tunsil. Tunsil has been one of the best left tackles in the National Football League over the past half decade, probably even a little bit more than that now, but Tunsil is 31 years old. He's coming over to Washington to be the Commanders' left tackle, starting left tackle for Jane Daniels throughout this playoff and Super Bowl push. Adam Peters, he's putting all the chips in at this point. He is putting all the chips in. He's trading a 2026 second and fourth round pick along with 2025 third and seventh round picks to land Laremy Tunsil. Washington is also getting a 2025 fourth round pick back as well. This is a blockbuster move that I did not see coming. If there was a trade that was going to happen, I think it would have been for Trey Hendrickson because, of course, Hendrickson, there was some conversation there between Adam Peters and company and Hendrickson. I think this is. I mean, I'm looking through the notifications now. My phone's blowing up. There's a lot of people want to know my opinion on this, and so it's going to be a good pod because I mean, Laremy Tunsil is a Washington Commander. Laremy Tunsil is a Washington Commander. Now, Tunsil's coming off you could say more of a down year for Laremy last year because he let up 4 sacks. He allowed 23 pressures. But looking back at his stats, again, looking at PFF Premium is where you can get all these stats. 23 pressures and 4 sacks. 2 of those sacks came in the very first game of the season, and 2 of those sacks came in the very last game of the season. The other 17 games? The other 17 games that they played in, or 16 games that they played in, he didn't allow a single sack at all the entire season. So I'm looking forward to what Tunsil can bring. An 89.1 pass blocking grade. I think something you got to worry about, though, is the penalties, especially early on in the season in 2024. Tunsil had, 12 penalties in the first 4 weeks of the season, which was insane. That's insane for some reason. 12 penalties in the first 4 weeks. But overall, I mean, this is a guy who's been one of the most consistent pieces for the Texans since being traded over from Miami for the last, since 2019 is when he came over. And since then, he's only had 1 year where he's had a pass blocking grade below 84. Like, that is elite level stuff. Tunsil is someone who, I mean, if you can keep this up for a couple more years, this guy is a Hall of Famer. This guy is a Hall of Famer. And I know you had all that drama when he was first entering the draft, but the career that he has put out for himself has been spectacular. And this is a move that maybe Washington fans didn't see coming, but it's a move that allows Washington to do so much more. I want to take a look at Laremy Tunsil's kind of contract for the next couple of years because Tunsil has 2 years and $42.6 million remaining on his contract. 2025, he is due $21.3 million, $10 million in guaranteed money. And then in 2026, $21.3 million. All of that is non-guaranteed. So maybe I would expect here for Washington to rework this deal because Tunsil will probably want, as Washington has tweeted the Twitter. If you're watching the video, you can see it. But yeah, this is happening, guys. This is happening. Laremy Tunsil is a Washington Commander. But like I was saying, $21.3 million he's due for the next couple of seasons, but he doesn't have any guaranteed money in 2026, which leads me to believe Washington might want to restructure that. And same with Laremy Tunsil as well, because he will want some guaranteed money and know that he's going to be on the team for the next couple of seasons. So I would expect a restructure here at this point. But beyond that, Laremy Tunsil comes in. He's going to replace Brandon Coleman. Coleman was the 3rd round pick for the Commanders out of TCU last draft. Coleman kind of didn't get the start immediately. It was Cornelius Lucas starting week 1 at left tackle with Coleman kind of recovering from a preseason injury. But Coleman eventually became the full-time starter after splitting reps with Cornelius Lucas at the left tackle position. Washington was, clearly not satisfied with what they have currently at the tackle position. So they go out and they trade for a guy like Laremy Tunsil, who is, what you're going to get out of him. And Tunsil is someone who he's going to play well, and he's going to be Jane Daniels blindside blocker for the next couple of seasons at least, in my opinion. So it's awesome to see this trade go through. Not something that I expected at all. It's definitely a lot of draft capital for a guy like Laremy Tunsil. Washington now goes into the 2025 NFL draft with only 5 picks, which is something that I don't think will actually, once we get to the draft, I don't think they'll only have 5 picks. Looking at kind of where they stand right now, you got pick 29, which I think at this point now, 95% chance I would say they trade out of pick 29, because you know how Adam Peters has praised himself on building through the draft, and he's been able to land some key pieces, like, of course, Jane Daniels, Mikey Sanders still, Johnny Newton as well. In his first draft class, he's going to want to do the same and maybe grab some diamonds in the rough later on in his second draft class. So I expect Washington to have 6 or more picks when it's all said or done in the 2025 NFL draft, and that would mean trading out of pick number 29 to acquire more capital. So 29, I would expect Washington to trade out of. Washington still has pick number 61 in the second round. They traded away number 79, which now goes to Houston. That was Washington's pick that they got from Miami for trading. What was this from? I can't remember, but that was the pick that they got from Miami. I believe that was in the Jahan Dotson trade, actually, because Philadelphia had that Miami pick, and so Washington got that pick for Jahan Dotson, which now it goes to Houston. And then in the fourth round, Washington now has Houston's pick, so they basically dropped down about 50 spots, 50 spots to 127, where now they have Houston's fourth round pick. They don't have their own fourth round pick because that goes to New Orleans. That was in the Marshawn Lattimore trade. Fifth round, Washington doesn't have a selection. And then in the sixth round, Washington has picked 207. And in the seventh round, Washington has picked 238. So they currently have 1 first rounder, 1 second rounder, 1 fourth, 1 sixth, and 1 seventh in the 2025 NFL draft. Which, again, not great. If you want to look at the draft power rankings in terms of draft capital, Washington currently sits in 31st. And that is via Tankathon, where you can kind of see draft capital wise where each team lines up. Last year, Washington was actually second, right behind the Arizona Cardinals, who were first at the time. And now here in this draft class, they have the 31st, so the second weakest kind of draft capital or current picks in the 2025 NFL draft. So I expect that to change, because we know how much Adam Peters loves the draft and loves evaluating these players. And I know he's going in right now. We've seen trades from Marshawn Lattimore, Deebo Samuel, and now Laremy Tunsil. But here, I mean, this is it. So Laremy Tunsil is a Washington Commander, which I am stoked about. If you're a Washington fan, you've got to be happy about this one, because this is someone who's going to be able to protect Jane Daniels' blind side. And I know Daniels is a great scrambler, and that is something that helped Washington get to the NFC Championship game last year. But something that stopped them from winning the NFC Championship was because they didn't have a great offensive line at the time. And I know Cosme was out as well at that time as well, but a consistent left tackle is something that this franchise needed and has kind of been missing since they traded away Trent Williams back in 2020. But now, half a decade later, Adam Peters is rebuilding this offensive line. And you now look at where this offensive line is now to where it was 2 years ago. There's only 2 starters that remain, and that is Sam Cosme and Andrew Wiley, going back to Ron Rivera's final offseason. So now on the left side, Laremy Tunsil, Nick Allegretti at left guard, Tyler Biotish, who had a very good year last year, starting at center, Sam Cosme when he's healthy at right guard, when he's not, or if he's not ready by the start of the season. I'm curious to see what they want to do there. Will they draft a rookie, or will we see Washington kind of go for a more depth guard as well? Because right now, a lot of the top guards are kind of gone. So I'm assuming Washington will either bring back a guy like a Trent Scott to play right guard, or a Michael Dieter, or they'll go to the draft to kind of bring in a guy who can be the placeholder until Sam Cosme is healthy. And then at right tackle, Andrew Wiley, of course. So Washington's offensive line, I'm pretty happy with right now. In my mock offseason that I did in the episode the other day, I had Washington not bringing in anyone to start at left tackle, and I had them running it back with Brandon Coleman and Andrew Wiley, but I did have them picking up a few players in the draft that were developmental pieces on the offensive line. But for right now, this is a massive move from the Washington Commanders and Adam Peters. It is a bold move too, because this isn't just a trade where you throw in it's not like a Deebo Samuel trade where it's only a 5th round pick. This is 4 different players you're giving up for a guy like Laremy Tunsil, which I guess technically, if you want to say, it's 2 players because you're also getting a draft pick back. But this is 4 different players, a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 7th for a guy like Laremy Tunsil, which, again, Washington, we'll see what the market is like trading back for the Commanders at 29. At this point, I would have to assume if you trade back about 30 spots, 20 to 30 spots, you can get a couple extra draft picks in return, maybe 3 of them in return as well. Well, like a couple extra adding on to the pick that you get in the pick swap. So it's a pretty big deal for the Washington Commanders. And also, I want to kind of talk about it a little bit because I'm here anyways at the microphone because Adam Peters has to do his thing after he was quiet for the first 3 hours or so. Beyond signing Javon Kinlaw, which you can kind of see, I'll kind of go over my reaction to that as well. But Kinlaw's signing, I think it was kind of something that not really Washington fans were looking at as a potential option, which I think kind of surprised a lot of people, including myself. But look, it's $30 million guaranteed for 3 years, which again that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a guy like Javon Kinlaw. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. This is one of those ones where Adam Peters has already built himself a reputation where these players will, in these signings that may seem questionable, they're going to deliver. And so I'm going to be yet to comment on the Javon Kinlaw signing. As far as Jeremy Chinn is a Las Vegas Raider. He signed a deal right as the Laremy Tunsil news was breaking. So Washington is not going to get back Jeremy Chinn, who had a great year for the Commanders, especially in the second half of the season for this Washington team. So Washington has a hole to fill at safety. I wonder if they were to trade back at 29, maybe into the 40s, 50 range, that would be a solid place to pick up a guy like Xavier Watts or Malachi Starks if Malachi Starks falls. Nick Emanwari too. I expected Emanwari to probably be the first safety off the board. But if one of those 3 guys are there at 40 or 50, I would expect that to probably be the pick for Washington because all 3 of those players are very good, in my opinion, and 3 very good prospects that Washington and Dan Quinn's defense, they would all fit well in it. So that's pretty much it, though. Laremy Tunsil is a Washington Commander, to a lot of people's surprise. It's been a very shocking day for Commanders fans, but it's been one that, is very good. It's very good. The Commanders have a franchise left tackle, and I haven't been able to say that since a couple of presidencies ago. It's been a while. So Laremy Tunsil is a Washington Commander, maybe a little bit of a risk, but overall, if he can just repeat his performance from last season, that would be like tied for the best performance on Washington's offensive line last season as well. So I'm looking forward to what he can bring at left tackle for the Commanders. This team is coming together, and this team is Adam Peters knows this is the time to make a run. And maybe it was sooner than a lot of fans have kind of looked at, but this is what it should be in the NFL. And Adam Peters has done an incredible job over the last, he's only been the GM here for 13 months now, 14 months. So it's been awesome to see what he can do with this team. And, trading for another guy like this is just another move. And so Deebo Samuel, Laremy Tunsil, what's next for Adam Peters? I don't know, but that'll do it for today's episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. Next episode will be out next Monday, unless, of course, some other big-time breaking news goes down. Then I'll be back on the mic. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. See you guys in the next one. Peace.